Foremost Native American groups of Nuevo Leon. The history and culture of Nuevo Leon, Mexico, are abundant, and the area's intriguing past can be linked to the native tribes who formerly called it home. These tribes have left a lasting legacy that still has an impact on the area, having shaped the land and its inhabitants. However, who were these Native American groups that lived in Nuevo Leon? What were their habits, convictions, and manner of life? Discovering the mysteries of these ancient civilizations is akin to setting out on an engrossing voyage through time, where each new finding promises to reveal a deeper level of comprehension and admiration for the region that we now refer to as Nuevo Leon. It is clear from studying Nuevo Leon, Mexico's history, that the area was home to several indigenous tribes. The area's cultural and historical landscape was greatly influenced by these tribes. The Coahuiltecos, who lived in portions of both Coahuila and Nuevo Leon, were another important tribe in Nuevo Leon. These roving hunter-gatherers were adept at navigating the region's varied topography, having adapted to both desert and mountainous areas. The Coahuiltecos obtained their food from fishing, hunting, and gathering edible plants. They traveled from place to place in search of resources, living in small, nomadic groups. The artifacts and archaeological sites in the area help to preserve their legacy today. The Rio Grande Valley, in what is now northeastern Mexico and southern Texas, was home to a group of indigenous people who were nomadic and called Coahuiltecos, Pagelates, or Pacoa. Below are additional details regarding the Coahuiltecos. Territory: the states of Coahuila, Tamaulipas, Nuevo Leon, Mexico, and Texas, United States, were home to the Coahuiltecos. Their habitat was typified by a dry climate, shrubs, and level ground. Their way of life consisted of hunting and gathering in small, independent bands. Their inability to exploit marine resources was hampered by the lack of fresh water along the coastal region, despite their proximity to the Gulf of Mexico. Inland, most Coahuiltecos resided. Language: scholars are working to bring back the Coahuiltecan languages, which are currently extinct. These languages are thought to be members of the Hokan language family. However, linguists disagree with this theory because of insufficient data. The Coahuiltecos left their mark on the history of the area, despite their population declining as a result of European diseases, slavery, and conflicts with other indigenous and Spanish groups. Their influence is still felt in the locals' recollections and cultures today. The Caxcans were a native ethnic group of western and north-central Mexico, sometimes referred to as Pagelates or Pacoa. Their original lands included parts of southern Durango, Jalisco, Zacatecas, Colima, Aguascalientes, and Nayarit. Let's explore the Caxcans in further detail. A tribe known as the Caxcans left the central highlands of Mexico and moved to Nuevo Leon. They established towns in the Sierra Madre Oriental mountain range after moving to the state's northern region. The Caxcans were well known for their agricultural methods, raising agave and corn among other plants. They also possessed a highly developed social structure, with leaders in charge of various facets of tribal life. Despite the Caxcans' eventual confrontations with Spanish colonists, their cultural legacy continues to play a significant role in the history of Nuevo Leon. Language: the Caxcan language is a member of the Uto-Aztecan language family and is most frequently recorded as an archaic form of Nahuatl. Regretfully, in the 1890s, the last Caxcan speakers to speak the language fluently died out. Despite this, a large portion of Caxcan culture is preserved orally, and initiatives are being made to preserve their legacy and revive the language. Lifestyle: there was a nomadic and sedentary component to the Caxcans' way of life. They joined forces with the Zacatecos to fight the Spaniards during the Mixtin Rebellion, 1540–42, led by their leader Tenemazel. They were crucial to this turbulent time and were known as the heart and center of the Indian Rebellion. They were targeted by other indigenous groups and encountered difficulties as a result of their ceasefire agreement with the Spaniards following the rebellion. Tlaltenango, Juchipila, and Teocaltec I were their main centers. Chichimeca War: the Chichimeca War, 1550–1590, was a protracted struggle between Spanish colonists and native confederations in which the Caxcans took part. In contrast to the Mixtin Rebellion, the Caxcans sided with the Spanish in this conflict. The Bajío region, which includes modern-day states like Zacatecas, Guanajuato, Aguascalientes, Jalisco, and San Luis Potosí, was the scene of the fighting. Legacy: the Caxcans are no longer a separate cultural group, but their descendants are distributed throughout the border areas of northern Jalisco and southern Zacatecas. Their tragic fate was characterized by forced labor, enslavement, and the catastrophic 1546–1548 epidemic. Despite these difficulties, their legacy lives on, and their historical contributions to Mexico are still very important. Guachichils: the Guachichils were a tribe that inhabited various regions of central and northern Mexico, including parts of Nuevo Leon. They were expert hunters and gatherers who lived off the rich wildlife and plant life in the area. The Guachichils were renowned for their extraordinary archery prowess and environmental adaptability. They had a sophisticated social structure and were extremely well organized. Their legacy is still felt today thanks to cultural artifacts and archaeological discoveries made in Nuevo Leon. The Guachichils were a Mexican indigenous group also referred to as Pajalates or Pacoa. They held the largest territory of any indigenous Chichimeca tribe in pre-Columbian central Mexico before European and African settlers arrived. Below are additional details regarding the Guachichils. Territory: the Guachichils inhabited a sizable area that included northeastern Jalisco, parts of Guanajuato, San Luis Potosí, and Zacatecas. Their domain stretched north to Saltillo in Coahuila and south to the northernmost points of Michoacán. The Guachichils, who were regarded as courageous and warlike, were instrumental in inciting other Chichimeca tribes to oppose Spanish colonization. They were particularly successful at raiding and evading Spanish retaliation because of their advantageous location in relation to Spanish highways and mines. Even after suffering fatal wounds, these fighters never gave up. With their bows and arrows, these expert archers could pierce Spanish armor. Their ability to elude Spanish supplies, move quickly, and navigate the difficult terrain all helped them to be successful in fending off colonization. Nomadic lifestyle: compared to the sedentary Spanish invaders, the Guachichils were more mobile due to their nomadic lifestyle. They attacked in small groups and had a great value on European scalps, particularly those with red hair and animal furs. This choice was impacted by the cultural significance of the color red for them. The Guachichils' legacy endures, and their contributions during the Chichimeca Wars continue to be significant in Mexican history, despite their eventual decline brought on by diseases and conflicts imported from Europe. Pames: another Aboriginal tribe that inhabited Nuevo Leon was the Pames. They moved from Mexico's central highlands and settled in various parts of the state. The Pames' main occupation was farming. They grew crops like corn, beans, and squash. They also made elaborate ceramic vessels and engaged in pottery making. The Pames engaged in cooperative efforts in agricultural pursuits and other facets of tribal life, demonstrating their strong sense of community and shared responsibility. Primarily residing in the state of San Luis Potosí, central Mexico, the Pame people are also known as Nahu or Nayaxu, in Hidalgo, in the south, Ri-Nui-Aya in Querétaro, and Xiayui, alternate spelling, Xiui, Xiui, Xioi, or Ziui, in the north. Let's investigate the Pame in more detail. Pre-colonization, the Pame were traditionally expert traders who made friends with many other indigenous groups in the area and even spoke their dialects. They were renowned for their skill as hunters and fierce warriors, in addition to being a nomadic people. Remarkably, on the northern border of Mesoamerica, some Pame rancherias coexisted with Nawa, Otomi, and Purapeca settled villages, suggesting that they were aware of Mesoamerican farming practices. Mission period and Spanish occupation. In 1522, the Pame joined forces with nearby tribes to oppose the Spanish, but like many other indigenous peoples in Latin America, they were ultimately vanquished and forced into mission life. The Pame were missionized, and as a result, they settled near the missions, became Christians, and learned sedentary farming techniques. Sadly, this was the last of their mostly wandering lifestyles. Chichimeca War, the Pame faced difficulties as cattle ranches encroached upon their Rio Verde territory after 1600, despite their minor involvement in the conflict with the Spanish, involving minor raids on cattle ranches in the Bajío region. The Pame people have persevered through colonization and maintained their cultural resilience in spite of their past struggles. They serve as evidence of Mexico's rich history of indigenous people. Chicamecas. A group of wandering tribes known as the Chicamecas lived throughout northern Mexico, including parts of Nuevo Leon. They were expert hunters who subsisted on the land and collected food from their surroundings. The Chicamecas had a distinct way of life because they could survive on little and adapted to the hostile desert environments. The archaeological relics and oral traditions connected to the tribe attest to their strong sense of identity and culture despite their nomadic lifestyle. During pre-Columbian times, the Chicamecas, also called Pagulates or Pacoa, were a varied group of nomadic and semi-nomadic peoples who lived in central and northern Mexico. Let's examine the Chicamecas in further detail. Territory. The Chicamecas originated in what is now Mexico's Bajío region, which encompasses parts of the states of Guanajuato, Durango, Zacatecas, and San Luis Potosí. Their lands stretched from Guanajuato's fertile valleys to the highlands of Zacatecas. Significance of the name: when used to refer to Germanic tribes, the Roman term barbarian and the term Chichimeca had comparable meanings. This name was taken up and used disparagingly by the Spanish Empire. The Chicamecas were seen by the Spanish as untamed, nomad people who vehemently opposed foreign encroachment into their land, which also happened to contain rich silver mines that the Spanish desired to take advantage of. Diverse cultural development. Several groups with a wide range of cultural development were included under the general and inclusive term Chichimeca. These groups included sedentary agriculturalists with complex political structures and hunter-gatherers. They were feared for their skill and ferocity in battle, and they offered animal sacrifices. Chichimeca War. The Chichimeca peoples and the Spanish colonists fought a major battle during the Chichimeca War, 1550 to 1590. In the end, the Spanish and Chichimeca came to amicable terms for peace. All Chichimeca groups, with the exception of the Pames of San Luis Potosí and the related Chichimeca Llanas of the Sierra Gorda in eastern Guanajuato, saw a sharp decrease in population as a result of this interaction, though. Nowadays, the term Chichimecs refers exclusively to one ethnic group, the Chichimeca Llanas, a small remnant of which resides in the state of Guanajuato. The intricate history of indigenous resistance and adaptation in Mexico is still entwined with their legacy.